A week ago, I had no interest in Octopath Traveler. I figured the month would go by and there wouldn't be a major Switch game that really hooked me. There wouldn't be a cartridge worth kicking in my console because I'm just not the biggest fan of JRPGs, and this one looked pretty boring, pretty standard. Why would I dive back decades when we have all the modern conveniences and all the super cool systems that 2018 is capable of providing? But Gabe talks about this game non-stop. He is gaga for Octopath Traveler, and so after hearing his incessant praise, I decided, you know what, I'll download the demo. That can't hurt a bit. There's this 3-hour prologue where your progress carries over to the main game, but I wasn't even worried about that component because I knew I wouldn't like it. I'm not a JRPG fan. I don't like antiquated ideas and antiquated titles. Why pay full price for something that I could have experienced so long ago? Boy, was I wrong. Boy, was I wrong about Octopath Traveler. Now that I've dipped all 3 hours of that 3-hour time limit into the demo, I cannot wait for the full release later this week. I'm so freaking pumped. I'm going to be playing the game, and that blows my mind because I didn't know I had it in me, or rather I didn't know that Octopath Traveler had it in it to attract me and allure me in this way. The game is so well made, and I encourage everyone to give it a go. You've got this big, meaty demo that doesn't hurt one bit. As long as you got the space on your Switch, or heck, even if you don't, archive away and grab a chance to check out this JRPG because it just might hook you like it hooked me. And the reasons are pretty simple. It is insanely polished, it is incredibly well made, and it doesn't skimp on any of the details that could make this annoying, but instead make this incredibly interesting. So we have a combat system that includes a boost idea where you can double, triple, quadruple your attacks, or even your healing spells to make them much more effective. Where you have a party system that you build and choose as you go who you want to acquire, where you begin, but also lets you experience all the stories in case you're someone that doesn't like making definitive choices. It really merges the ideas that made JRPGs so successful over the years, but sprinkles in enough newness that I feel it will appeal to many a Switch gamer. And frankly, it's just not for everyone. There will be people that play this and find it boring, that find it dull, that find it slow, but they've done what they can to mitigate even those issues. There aren't long load times. The game moves at a pretty brisk pace, and even though there is a lot of dialogue, heck, I found that interesting. Sometimes it does get a bit ham-fisted, and the character I chose to start with, she speaks in Shakespearean tongue, and that's a little bit much for me, but their origin stories are interesting. And while I don't want to delve into the complete structure of Octopath Traveler, it's a pretty cool way that they've organized this world, that you do get to kind of acquire these characters as you go, dive into their origins, and then help them pursue whatever purpose defines their character, their role, and their storyline. But you don't have to fully launch yourself into one of these characters' arcs. You can instead just play their intro, or heck, skip their intro, acquire them, and then maybe dive into their quest line later down the road. It's really smart in how it organizes this to give you the choice, and it gives more ADD impatient gamers an opportunity to briskly move through, acquire the party, and just mainline a certain character, or it gives the more patient gamer, the one who wants to experience it all, an opportunity to do just that. I think that, yes, random encounters, and yes, pixelated art, maybe it's not as cool looking as something like Spider-Man on PS4 or Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but they're definitely doing things here to try really hard to grab you with what they got. And I think that the lighting and the scope of the world, the serenity of the world, the peacefulness is something that is lost in many games, and yet here it really appeals. The implementation and inclusion of choice, not in dialogue trees, but rather in progression and how you pick your characters, is probably my favorite feature of Octopath Traveler. I like that I feel like I'm in control of this journey. They have spliced the game into 8 components, and yet they integrate in such a cool way. You are not really gonna ever face FOMO here, and you don't have to worry about restarting or another playthrough. You get to experience it all, or at least as much as you choose to experience. And there's definitely something kind of cool about getting into a rhythm with a game like this and cuddling up with you and your buddy Switch and feeling those nostalgic vibes and committing to a game of this caliber and of this length. It's a rare experience for me, and one that even in its novelty I have found really enjoyable. So to give you my personal experience, I started off with the Hunter character, who allows you to acquire monsters along the way. You can capture enemies that you face, which isn't something brand new for RPGs, I'm well aware, but it's cool, and I like how it's implemented here because you can utilize those creatures against other creatures and then double, triple, quadruple their abilities. So if you want a stronger attack from an attack-based monster that you captured, that's possible. And the way that you kind of balance that in the game hasn't fully shown itself just yet to me. I find the early hours easy and maybe even a little bit too much of a pushover where I'm kind of just, it's more a war of attrition. It's more an inevitability rather than a tactical opportunity. And I hope that later on, enemies and mobs and just the entire composition of combat is something that will push me and challenge me and allow me to utilize the cool boost system as well as the cool composition of characters in order to achieve much more tactical satisfaction. But as of yet, it's still pretty cool, and I like that I can bring in a weird moss pig to help heal my party. From there I moved to Ophelia, who is a healer, who is a cleric, and her sister's storyline reminded me oddly of Frozen. They've got a little bit of an Anna and Elsa thing going on there, and their dad falls ill and one has to go on the pilgrimage and one has to stay behind. It's kind of traditional fare when it comes to JRPGs, but what I like here is that it's, for the most part, understated. They don't go over the top. This isn't a massive giant monster descends from the clouds and you have to save the world, otherwise humanity is doomed. At least it hasn't devolved into that just yet. And I kind of like how they are structured as vignettes that feel well written and that feel like you could get pretty invested in these characters. One thing to note that is interesting and just sort of showcases the scope of the game is as you acquire these characters, you'll see dotted on the map their next chapter, because as I mentioned, you can kind of go and amass them as you will and then progress through whoever's path you choose. And you start off with these characters, and mine are level 5, 6, 7, but their chapter 2s are level 27. So this is a game that is encouraging you to acquire, move forward. There's a lot of content there, and you will be playing this for many hours. We've heard in the range of 80 for a complete playthrough, and God knows how many more if you want to see absolutely everything. But after Ophelia, I went and I grabbed, we're going to call him Golden Sun. He is a scholar. He is obsessed with books, and his start is very different than the other two. And talking to Gabe, he's had an all different experience with unique vignettes and interesting anecdotes of his own to tell. And I like that it kind of merges this open world style with very traditional rote JRPG ideas, and it gives you an opportunity to pick a character to start with, but from there to open up and expand and add to your party as you see fit. You can make your entire goal to grab all 8 characters as soon as humanly possible, or you could go grab a few and then delve further and maybe pick up some more along the way, save some anecdotes, skip some anecdotes. It really feels like it's at your discretion, at least for some of it. I don't know how that will play out later in the game, and I hope that there are unique aspects to Octopath Traveler that reveal themselves hours and hours on, because it would be sort of sad if all of the interesting stuff was really front laden, if it was all in the beginning that you feel that this is a interesting take and a worthy 2018 exploration of the genre. So I do hope that they're able to introduce some new ideas and some interesting mechanics later on, because there's all the traditional things in terms of skill acquisition, item management, saving. They've got fast travel, which is nice, of course, but you will be mostly moving through fields, fighting random encounters, encountering new towns, talking through lots of linear talking sequences, and doing things that you do in a JRPG. But there's just enough newness sprinkled in that I found this pretty darn captivating. And again, I'm someone that has not been grabbed by a JRPG in what feels like forever. So the fact that this one did it is very, very, very charming. And yes, there's times where I'm worried that maybe I'm gonna lose interest, that maybe this game isn't gonna hold me down as long as I'm hoping for, because either the dialogue's a bit too cheesy, or the encounters are a bit too close together, or I'm just not feeling the idea of looking at pixels for 80 hours. But I think that we're good. I think 3 hours in, I've committed to this, I have put my progress in, I am going to be carrying it over, thank God, to the full game. What a nice feature. And I'm really excited to see if Octopath Traveler can ascend the charts for maybe even one of my favorite games on Switch this entire calendar year. So go grab the demo today. I definitely encourage it. Don't make the mistake I did. I was going to completely skip this one. I wasn't going to give it the time of day. I thought I do not want to drop 60 on a JRPG from forever ago. But boy, was I wrong. It's a really nice feeling when a game surprises you, especially in the summertime, because I know a lot of people are pumped for this, but maybe you're like me and you were completely writing it off. Hopefully this gives you an opportunity to check something out and maybe even invest in something that can help dispel the summer lull that we are currently in when it comes to games. There's always indies, but it's really great to have something brand new and exclusive to get excited about. So thanks so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all the latest and greatest from the Switch and kind of sneaky surprise titles like this one. Gabe and I both get to discuss the game now, and we'll tell you about our adventures with Hunter and Ophelia and Golden Sun and whatever characters he's chosen to acquire. We'll have that for you soon. In the meantime, follow us on Twitter and Discord, super fun places to interact with us and the community. And until next time, everybody, have a great day. I love you. Switch Force out.